If someone were to ask you, what is the single most positive thing you felt you've done for humanity, what might that be, Tom? It's a loaded question.
It's an
but you
impossible
got
question.
it in advance. At least I gave you that.
Yeah, and
Still
I read
tough.
it and I was like, that's just an impossible question. I mean, the things that have been really gratifying, one is the jobs we've created.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've always felt that was a very important thing, giving people meaningful work and a good place to work and a place where they feel trusted and rewarded is really gratifying, and I think it's really important.
Mm-hmm.
I also think, I mean, and I don't know about affecting humanity, but I think that what we're trying to do with journalism is super important.
Mm-hmm.
This is a time when there is a lot of content out there.
Sure.
But very little of it is actually, journalistically researched and sourced.
Exactly.
And there's a real need for
fake news is kind of the new thing, so to speak.
And the national news, 26% of the people in the country believe national media has any veracity at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the good news is that this isn't the first time this has happened, right? So, but it's really important if you're going to have a successful city in a democratic republic,
mm-hmm.
To have an electorate and citizens who are informed. And that kind of information doesn't generate the most page views.
It seems like to me, and this is my opinion, that freedom of the press, it's in the Constitution. I know we can't get too far off of the purpose of it, right? It seems like somehow it's evolved or devolved into a license to lie in some way. Somehow and I don't know how we bring that back. I don't have the answer. I'm just curious your thoughts. Does the pendulum swing back and forth, or is this a new time post the evolution of social media?
Well, I mean, it's a dessert topping and a floor wax, right?
Right, exactly.
Right? I mean, if you look back at if you look at 18th century America, right? A city like Louisville, a city like Philadelphia, Louisville not in the 18th century, but would have had dozens of what we call newspapers, broadsheets back then,
mm-hmm.
right? And if you were a printer or a person with a political opinion,
mm-hmm.
You had your own broadsheet, and those guys were insanely libelous, made up all kinds of stuff. I mean, the wars that went on in the press between Jefferson and Adams were amazing.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about
right?
that. You're absolutely right.
So then we go through this period where media consolidates because it requires a lot of capital,
mm-hmm.
right, to get a license from the FCC and to build big printing web presses and delivery trucks and all these things, right? And then we go in this period where we have a few dominant media players.
Mm-hmm.
So now you look at the media world, and in a way you say we have a few dominant media players. It's Google and Facebook,
right,
to a large extent.
Exactly.
And we have this broadsheet going on with Twitter,
mm-hmm.
right, where anybody who has an opinion and can generate a few followers basically has their own publishing platform.
Right. That's a good point.
That still doesn't mean that you don't need to have a fairly objective organization out there trying to make people accountable who doesn't have a particular agenda, and that's
mm-hmm.
what we're trying to do.
I got you.
And it's tricky.
It is tricky. So do you feel like it'll swing another way, or is it kind of like humanity itself? It just kind of ebbs and flows?
Yes.
Okay.